Right, I just want to make sure that I am actually live streaming at the moment. I'm sorry, again, it's a new bit of software, but I do believe, yes, it looks like I'm streaming live at the moment. Let me have a look on Facebook. Fingers crossed it's working. Let me have a look here. Sorry about this again. It is a new bit of software and it doesn't always tell me exactly whether things are happening when they should be happening, which is slightly annoying. I have been having issues over the last couple of days. But no, it looks like... Okay, it looks like we're streaming. So hello and welcome to Small Screen Stories. This is the daily show where I go over all the news in the world of entertainment and pop culture. My name is Edward Lauder. I'm the editor of Small Screen. And let's just get straight into the news of today. And there's a lot to get through because I'm also going to be going over some of the news from yesterday because I didn't get to do a live show yesterday. But the very first thing I think we should talk about is the fact that Disney is reportedly not considering releasing Black Widow on Disney Plus before its theatrical debut. So this actually comes after there were a lot of rumors that that basically that is going to happen, that we are going to be seeing a Disney Plus release of Black Widow. Before I start this, let me just zoom in here. Sorry about this. This isn't very professional. Right, that's a bit better. Yeah. So there are lots of rumors that this was happening. John Campia actually did an episode on his show where he was told that sources had been contacting him saying that Disney was going to be doing this. Actually, incidentally, I was also told by people that this was happening, that Disney were going to be releasing Black Widow, on Disney Plus rather than having it released in cinemas. I was actually told they're going to do a two-pronged approach, a bit like what's happening with Wonder Woman 1984, which I'm going to go into in a second. However, apparently Deadline have just reported that it's not true, that Disney have never been thinking about this, but they did say that they're thinking of doing that with Cruella, Pinocchio, and I believe there's another film in there that they're also thinking of doing that too. But basically, there are some films that they're thinking of releasing on Disney Plus rather than in cinemas. And of course, this is because of the pandemic that's going on at the moment. And it's just a very, very tough time for everyone, it's a very tough time for everyone. But at the moment, it really is impacting certain industries, and the entertainment industry, the food and beverage industry as well, are ones that are being severely affected by this. So... well, what does it mean? What does all this mean then for the future of are Disney going to start releasing more things on Disney Plus? I believe that's inevitable. I really do believe that's inevitable. However, at the moment, what's going to happen with cinemas as well moving forward? I think a lot of cinemas are going to go out of business. But no, according to Deadline, Disney is not, and Marvel are not thinking of releasing Black Widow on Disney Plus as it stands at the moment. They are hoping to be getting a theatrical release for this movie, and there are many reasons why that would be the case. One of the reasons is they'd make a lot more money with a theatrical release. Another reason is that, that is the main reason, that they'd get more money and on a theatrical release. There is another reason though, and it's that they still haven't quite worked out how to do this. So they haven't quite worked out how they're going to be able to monetize this. Now, if you've seen with the release of Mulan, you had to pay, I believe it was like £19. I'm thinking maybe a bit less in the UK. I can't remember what it is. Maybe $25 in the US. So you had to pay that money, even if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, and then you only got to rent the movie. So you didn't even get to keep it. And then there was a big hoopla when it was revealed that you can actually just go, when it was eventually released on other platforms, you could actually just go to Google and buy it for the same amount of money, actually probably even less money than you were able to rent it on Disney Plus to begin with. So it's obviously something that they haven't quite worked out yet. And then this leads in to the news that Wonder Woman 1984, it's been revealed that they're releasing it both on HBO Max and in cinemas on Christmas Day. So what does this mean? Well, basically, I think a lot of people that claim to be sources then reached out to people like me, like myself, and I'm always very wary of these, well, wary of these people that I don't know very well, that they come to, well, I don't know at all in some cases, and they just give me supposed information on things. And then, so I sat on it for a while, and then Deadline released their. I also asked around some people that I do know in the industry that said that they hadn't heard anything about this, that they had heard that Disney are planning or is planning on releasing some movies on Disney Plus, but it's actually the lower tier, not films like Black Widow, but they are doing it at Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers is kind of different because HBO Max isn't available everywhere. So basically Wonder Woman is still going to be getting a theatrical release basically everywhere else other than the United States. So there's, well, what does that mean then? But basically, I've heard lots of people complaining that apparently Wonder Woman 1984 is coming out in like international markets on the 18th of December, which is before the 25th, and that means there'll be spoilers. I've lived in France my whole life, and I got to watch Marvel movies and I believe DC Comics movies before they were released in the UK or the US, and that's because they release movies on a Wednesday here in France, and that's just all new movies are always released on a Wednesday, which often means that these new big blockbusters are released in France before they're released in the United States or the UK, and there have been no spoilers really, as far as I can tell and remember. There have been no major spoilers revealed from, maybe in the French trades, I don't know, but it's not something I think people should really be worrying about. I think what people should actually be worrying about is, especially if you're involved in the entertainment industry, if you're involved in the movie industry, is thinking about how this is going to proceed. And it looks very much like Disney is really going to be leaning on streaming. It was revealed recently that Disney, within its first year, has already got over 73 million subscribers, which is crazy considering the only original kind of big bit of content they've made is The Mandalorian. There have been a few other shows that they made, but nothing as big as The Mandalorian, where Netflix, I think, is close to like 190 million subscribers now, maybe 193 million, I think they have. And they're making like new stuff all the time, and they're operating at a loss. I think it's like an 11 billion loss like a year. But what it looks like with Disney, because they don't have to license things, they can actually make a massive profit just by releasing all their movies on Disney Plus, because they already have Pixar, Star Wars, they have all the Fox movies now, they have all the Marvel movies. They've got so much content, so they don't need to go out and license a lot of stuff. And one of the main reasons why Netflix spends so much money isn't actually because they're spending a lot of money on original content. No, it's actually because they're spending a lot of money on licensing things. So the more money, one of the main things about these streaming services is they need a massive library. It was also revealed, I think, that like close to 80% of content watched on Netflix is not original content. I think that's probably a bit lower now. I think it's in the 70s, but it's still really high. So it means that people are watching more licensed stuff, which to me makes sense, because before like The Crown came out, for instance, my wife and I were mainly watching stuff that's not Netflix original stuff, like Friends, How I Met Your Mother, those kind of shows. A lot of people watch, like, if you look at the numbers, people watch a lot of Friends. I know it's not available in the US, but it was available in the UK. And I think it's still available in France. But if you think worldwide, the amount of people that watch those original programs, original Netflix shows, is actually quite low. And that's quite worrying for Netflix, because what they want to do is end up having basically just all their own content and not having to spend as much money on licensing, which is why Disney Plus is in such a strong position, and is why they can afford, basically, at the moment, to just wait as far as Black Widow is concerned and not release it on Disney Plus. They don't have to panic. It's a completely different situation with Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers, they've made a huge loss this year. You look at Tenet, they did get to release Tenet, but it only made, I think it just crossed 400 million, which is, that's operating at a loss for that movie, because they spent a lot of movie on that, and then you add in marketing onto that as well, and then in the end, I think they just broke even, maybe. I think they just broke even on that movie. But they can't afford to, they can't afford to do that with Wonder Woman, which is why they're looking at this two-pronged approach so that they can still get people. Maybe over here in France and the UK, there might be some streaming service. Maybe in the UK, it might be on Sky, where you can purchase it rather than have to go to the cinemas, because, of course, cinemas here and in the United Kingdom and Germany, they're all closed at the moment because we're all in lockdown. And it looks like they're going to be closed until 2021, until January. So releasing it in cinemas in Europe is going to be tough. Maybe like Canada, they'll be able to release it. Parts of the United States, maybe other parts like Brazil, where they've just been going ahead as normal. Sweden, maybe places like that. They might be able to release it in those cinemas and make a bit of money from that, which will hopefully then balance itself out with the addition of people maybe subscribing to HBO Max in like the United States, and then people paying money to just rent it, or I think it'll be rent to begin with, rent it on streaming services. So it's a really interesting situation if you're into all this sort of stuff. It's a difficult situation. I mean, it must be a complete nightmare for people in movie studios trying to work all this out. But I think there will be a time where I love the cinema experience. I love going to the cinema, and I do worry about the future of cinemas, especially everywhere, but especially in places like the United Kingdom and the US, because what I'm seeing now, especially after this kind of lockdown, this global, this pandemic, a lot of people seem to be okay staying at home and just watching things at home. And I think a lot of people are going to be doing that in the future. And I also think movie studios are going to be relying far more on streaming services for income. They're going to have to work out how to monetize that. I personally hope they don't. But if you just look at the amount of money that Disney can make just by keeping just by putting their own stuff on a streaming service, like they make billions from that. And they don't have to really spend anything. There are operating costs, but it's not massive. And they're not having to license stuff. So to them, it actually makes more sense just to start releasing more stuff on Disney Plus, which is why you're seeing Soul, which is a big Pixar movie. But as far as they're concerned, that makes a lot more sense because it's a family-orientated film. And they know that probably families will buy this thing. I mean, I don't actually know how they're going to release it, whether they're going to do the Mulan thing and make people like spend money to rent it, or whether they're just going to release it. I'm not 100% sure on that. We're going to have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think about all this that I've just kind of dribbled on about in the comments below. Right, moving away from that and moving on to our exclusive. And the exclusive is, I'm actually really excited about this. So I did report something similar a couple of weeks back, that I was told that Dan Stevens is in talks to join the MCU. But that was basically all I was told. And I wasn't told what the character was. I wasn't told how far along they are in those talks. I didn't even know whether he was going to be actually playing Legion in it, which of course he played Legion in the FX show, which is a fantastic show. If you get the chance to watch that, Noah Hawley created it. He's the guy that did Fargo, and he was actually working on a Doctor Doom movie, but I suppose that's not happening anymore because that's no longer with Fox. But it's a fantastic series, and Dan Stevens is brilliant in it, but it looks like he's not going to be playing that character. So as far as basically what happened, I was talking to my sources about this a couple of weeks ago, and then they came back to me saying that he's playing a villain, and that he's in talks possibly as a villain. So I just want to get this up here so you can see. I will put that to one side. There you go. So yeah, here's the quote. So Dan Stevens and Marvel are currently deep in conversations. It's for a role in the MCU, the movies. So this is how this person speaks. Not the TV shows, and it could be a villain. So then, so this is the first thing that I heard. This is kind of an update, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then a second source then corroborated the information from the first source and also added that Stevens is in talks with Marvel. Kevin Feige is super excited to bring him into the Marvel family. I'm hearing it's for a villain role, not Legion. So there's more that not Legion fact that kind of swayed me to write this, because I was thinking it would be brilliant if they could bring him into the MCU as Legion, but it looks like Kevin Feige has other plans for Dan Stevens. This guy here, in case you don't know who Dan Stevens is, and if you don't know who Dan Stevens is, he's a really, really good actor. And I'm going to go into that now. So Dan Stevens, of course, he played Legion in the FX shows. He's a British actor. He kind of first came to prominence in Downton Abbey, and then he left Downton Abbey. Actually, was killed off in that show, and I think he asked to be killed off in that show because he then went and filmed a really good movie called The Guest. And in The Guest, he plays a terrible character, like a really nasty character in that. And but the thing is, he hasn't really been typecast as a villain, but he has shown over a long, he's actually had a pretty, very, very impressive career already. But he's shown in the likes of The Guest, Apostle, which is a Netflix film, which is really, really good. I think that was directed by Gareth Davies, I think it was, the guy that did the Raid movies. Anyway, so he was in that. He was in Beauty and the Beast. He was the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, which is actually not a bad film. I don't think it's that bad. But anyway, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was in the Eurovision film recently, and he's an actor that is kind of always on the fringes. He's in a lot of stuff, but he doesn't get the credit that I think he deserves, and which is why I'm very, very excited to hear all this about him possibly joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. My pick for him, the role is Doctor Doom. I think he would be brilliant as Doctor Doom. I mean, I know Doctor Doom, the character originally is from an Eastern European country. Well, that's I'm blanking on the name of the fictional country that he's the ruler of in the comics, but I don't think they're going to go that way. Because I think that's too comic booky, even for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think they might try and do something different with that character. But again, it seems as though this is pure speculation. I am wondering whether they're casting for the Fantastic Four movie, and if they're casting for the Fantastic Four film, then my money is on him playing Doctor Doom in that movie. I think he'd actually be quite a good. I'm forgetting his name now. Is it Johnny Storm? Fantastic Four. But again, as I was saying, as far as my sources are concerned, it's possibly a villain role. The Human Torch, Johnny Storm. Yeah, I was right. I think he'd be great in that role actually as well, and I think it'd be actually quite interesting because I really do think if they do, let's say this is again pure speculation. So if they do go ahead and do what everyone wants them to do, and they cast John Krasinski and Emily Blunt as Reed Richards and Susan Storm, then casting Dan Stevens as Johnny Storm makes perfect sense to me, because you look at him and Emily Blunt, you think, yeah, they definitely could be related, and I think that would be a really, really interesting way to go. I do personally wonder whether Dan Stevens would be more attracted to a villain role. I think there might be a bit more for him there to really sink his teeth into. But then again, if you get to play the Human Torch, it's not a bad gig at all. But as far as my sources are concerned, again, Kevin Feige is really, really really keen on bringing him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I am very happy to hear that, because I think I think Dan Stevens needs more. He needs to be appreciated more. I think he's one of those actors that is underrated and often overlooked for roles, and in bigger movies. He's in a lot of he was, of course, he has worked with Disney before, of course, in Beauty and the Beast. So he knows those people. He obviously, him and his agent obviously have contacts. And he got himself that role and he did really well. And I think they had a really good relationship with him from that movie. So let's see what happens. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on to Justice League. So Zack Snyder has revealed. So he revealed this during a live stream on Vero, where he was actually talking about the recent trailer that was released for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Of course, there's a whole story as to what happened with that trailer, why it was taken down, and then Zack Snyder changed it a bit and then re-uploaded it. It's, of course, in monochrome. the trailer that he showed on Vero was in monochrome, and then for some reason the one that HBO Max put up on their platforms was in color. I don't really understand why they did that. But anyway, he was talking about his movie and what's going to happen, well, potentially what's going to happen. And he actually talked about how much new footage was in the film. So he said that it's going to be 2.5 hours of new footage, which is basically unseen footage, which incidentally, kind of, it does confirm one of our scoops that we were told a couple of days ago, that it's going to be 70% unseen footage. So 2.5 hours, it's not quite 70%. It's very close, because if it's 4 hours long, so it's 60%. So someone tell me how much that is. I don't know, but yeah, it's basically all going to be new footage, which kind of is to be expected, because this movie is a completely different movie from the one that we saw in cinemas. That was basically just Joss Whedon. That movie, that was his film all over, and this film is going to be basically footage that Zack Snyder shot whilst shooting the movie to begin with, and then a tiny bit of extra footage that he's been doing in additional photography and reshoots. So mainly one of the main scenes that he's shooting is involving Jared Leto's Joker, and he actually said that the additional photography that he's done for the movie and the reshoots that he's done only accounts for 4 extra minutes in the film, which is kind of insane if you think he brought back so many people. He brought back Ben Affleck, he brought back Gal Gadot, he brought back Ray Fisher, he brought in Joe Manganiello and Jared Leto, and all that for 4 minutes. I don't quite believe that. I think it's going to be slightly more, but I'm just really, really looking forward to seeing this film. 4 hours long. It's not a film, it's a mini-series, basically. It's like an event film that's coming on HBO Max. I still don't know where it's going to be releasing on in the UK or anywhere else in Europe for that matter. I still don't know what they're going to be doing as far as that's concerned, but I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm pretty sure in the UK it'll be Sky. I think Sky Atlantic. But anywhere else, I have no idea, no clue. But it's going to be made available somewhere, probably on Google Play or something to buy. 4-hour miniseries, all Zack Snyder. That's a lot of Zack Snyder. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Right, moving on and sticking in the kind of Warner Brothers universe. So it was. This comes from a scoop from Geekosity, and I'll just get it up here. They were talking about basically how Warner Brothers is not taking the petitions, the Amber Heard petitions, seriously at all. So there are a bunch of petitions online, I've already talked about this before, asking for Warner Brothers to remove Amber Heard from Aquaman 2. One of these petitions has now reached over, I think it's 1.4 million, I think. But basically, a lot of people have signed this, but there's a lot of talk from Amber Heard herself and apparently from within Warner Brothers saying that these numbers are inflated. Basically, that these petitions are not genuine petitions. They're not signed by real people. They're saying that a lot of bots are behind it. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not sure if that's really the case, because I think that's a lot of effort to go into on behalf of supposedly Johnny Depp's team. This is allegedly they're the ones that are behind this, but I just don't see that as being the case, and I'm really not so sure about that. But anyway, according to Mikey Sutton, who's the owner and editor of Geekosity, so he said that his source told him they see no difference than the boycott of Marvel Studios' Captain Marvel films, which proved to be ineffective as it brought over $1 billion to Disney. They believe it's artificially inflated and most likely politically motivated. They don't base their decision on web chatter. So yeah, this is something that I'm a bit like, all right. I understand Warner Brothers not wanting to get rid of Amber Heard because I think it would be bad PR for them. But saying that these petitions aren't worrying them I think that's not true. And also, I really don't think you can. I'm being brutally honest here. I think this is definitely the case, but it's not comparing what happened to Brie Larson to what's happening with Amber Heard is very different. Brie Larson was a very, very, very small number of people that were upset with that whole film and her being in it. A very, very small, but relatively vocal minority. However, and this is just from what I've seen, just from what we've been posting on online and what's been going on Twitter, it's just too many people really to say that this is all bots that are very much against Amber Heard. And the thing is, I still think that Warner Brothers will. I don't think that they will get rid of Amber Heard. I think it will be too much heat for them to take, and I also think I don't really think there's any point. And as far as like, if people are saying, "Oh, they should recast the role," I'm like, well, there are other people in this film. It shouldn't really be all about Amber Heard. And there are also reports that I spoke about a couple of days ago that they're actually planning on expanding her role in the movie. Okay, that's fine. I mean, again, the problem is that as it stands, she's basically won the case. So I know it isn't her. The whole case is between Johnny Depp and The Sun that was in the UK, and the Sun newspapers ended up winning that case. Basically, being able to prove that their claims that Johnny Depp is a wife beater or was a wife beater were true, and that's actually what the judge said in the ruling. So it's, as far as Amber Heard's concerned, and as far as Warner Brothers are concerned, she's kind of out. She's not really the one that they're worried about now. It's very much Johnny Depp, which is why they asked Johnny Depp to resign from Fantastic Beasts 3 as Grindelwald. And it's upsetting because I've heard those tapes myself, and they don't make for nice listening at all between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. But apparently the Sun were able to prove that what they were saying was correct, and it convinced a judge. I wasn't privy to the information in that case. I know a lot of people are claiming that they were, but trust me, they weren't, because it's just not how the UK courts work. But it's, again, Amber Heard's a very vocal member of the Me Too movement, and I think if you end up sacking her and replacing her, I think that would just be. I don't think Warner Brothers is prepared to do that, and I don't really see that executives at Warner Brothers and people that actually deal with all this stuff actually feel that there's a need to. That again, this is I'm just being 100% completely honest with you. I don't think it's happening. Again, it might change in the future because Johnny Depp's got a lot of cases going on, and a lot of libel cases. Many of them in the United States. Most of them now, I think they're all actually in the United States. But it's one of those things that's like, it's kind of ongoing, and people are very vocal about this online. Apparently, Warner Brothers aren't taking those online petitions seriously. So maybe, I don't think they're going to get rid of her. I know a lot of people want them to, but I don't think it's going to happen. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on. Actually, this is again related. It's an Amber Heard story. There are lots of Amber Heard stories at the moment, and this one, I was brutally honest before. I'm going to be brutally honest with this story. So this comes from I think I call him Daniel Richman. I believe that's his name, but he's calls himself an industry insider. So someone that knows what's going on in Hollywood. He's apparently very, very connected. I'd love to have some of this guy's sources. I don't know who he talks to, but he posts a lot of stuff. And the most recent thing he posted was, one of the most recent things he posted was that apparently Amber Heard has been in talks with Marvel for the role of Susan Storm. Just let that sink for a second. It's not happening. That's not happening. I ran the story because I was like, I want to write about this. And I did put the word reportedly in the title. I know people get annoyed about that. I understand. I really do understand. I wanted to do a bigger kind of feature on it, but I really didn't think it needed the time of day. I'm not going to spend that long on it in this stream. All I'm going to say is that she's completely wrong for the role. And again, I know I was saying how Warner Brothers is prepared to give her more time in an Aquaman 2, and there have even been reports that apparently they're thinking of giving her a Mira solo movie, which I think would be bonkers if they do that. But Marvel Studios is a different studio. Disney is a different studio. I don't think they'd want to associate themselves with Amber Heard, even if she is right and not right, even if she is proven to not be guilty, or even if Johnny Depp is proven to be guilty, which at the moment, as it stands, he kind of is, unfortunately. It's just as far as the UK courts are concerned. But I don't think they'd be prepared for. I don't think they'd want her in the MCU. I don't think she's a good enough actress to play that role. And I also think there's a much better actor out there for the role that a lot of people already want, that I've heard that Kevin Feige is already very interested in casting, and that's Emily Blunt. So Emily Blunt, Amber Heard, she's not right for the role. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's that story done. I'm going to move on to the next, but maybe let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Right, moving on to the next story. And again, it's so much Amber Heard stuff, but this is Johnny Depp. And apparently, this comes from an article in Insider. And in Insider, they spoke to a former prosecutor they spoke to. Let me just get the article up here. Yeah, here we go. So I put experts in quotation marks because I don't know who this person is, but apparently Johnny Depp's career could be over. Say experts following Fantastic Beasts 3 exit. So again, this comes from Insider, and they spoke to a federal prosecutor, so a former federal prosecutor called Nima Rahmani. And she said in the interview, it's actually quite interesting what she said. She goes, "I predict his career may never recover. Disney has lost interest in Depp for its Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and I can't imagine any other major studio wanting to work with him. He's going to be the next Harvey Weinstein." That's what she said. That's not me. That's what she said. Her quote. I really think. I don't think you should. I don't think you can compare Johnny Depp to Harvey Weinstein. I'm going to be completely honest there. I don't think that's a clever thing to do. That's all I'm going to say about it, because there's another quote from her here. She then said, Depp should get out of the defamation lawsuit business while he still has a fragment of a movie career. The Virginia case is also a loser, like many celebrity family law cases that do little to show celebrities in a good light. Depp should stick to scripts written by others rather than airing his real-life drama in a courtroom. So to me, it sounds like this person really doesn't like Johnny Depp. Again, she's obviously far, far more knowledgeable on these things than I am. But I'm going to say one thing. Maybe she's right. I think she's probably right as far as the defamation cases are concerned. I actually don't. I'm actually quite surprised that he went for The Sun to begin with, but the whole thing was about his reputation. So it was a really important case for him. And actually, interestingly enough, celebrities do tend to win cases far more in the United Kingdom than they do in the US. But comparing him to Harvey Weinstein, I think you got to draw the line somewhere, and that's not on. I mean, say what you will about Johnny Depp, say what you will about his relationship with Amber Heard and whether he is a wife beater or not. He is not a Harvey Weinstein. I think I'm actually really surprised that Insider published that quote, because I think you're taking it way too far. Harvey Weinstein was a genuine monster, is a genuine monster. Hopefully he won't be around for that much longer. But he is. And that's been proven. That's been proven in a court of law. That's, if you can read the Catch and Kill book, Ronan Farrow's book, which is fantastic. Read that, listen to his podcast, then you'll know how much of a monster he is. Johnny Depp is nowhere on that level. Like, no. I'm really sorry, but I don't want to spend too much time on that. But I just wanted to say that, because that is a quote and a half. God. Anyway, moving on to, again, more Fantastic Beasts news. But this I actually found very, very interesting, because there have been rumors and supposed exclusives from places like, originally I saw it in Popcorn Planet, and then it was reported by Deadline as their own exclusive. I will say that the timings on that Popcorn Planet were first. But anyway, Warner Brothers. Sorry. According to Mads Mikkelsen, who was talking to IGN over the phone, he said that the claims that he's replacing Johnny Depp, as Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts 3 is a rumor. That's what he said. So I'll say the exact quote. Okay, so he said, "Okay, that is the rumor basis. That is on the rumor basis as we speak. So I know as much as you do from the newspapers. So I'm waiting for that phone call." So according to Mads Mikkelsen, he's not been approached for the role. Again, this happens all the time. Actors are always told to deny things until they're 100% confirmed. So that could be the case here. He could have already been cast, but just as far as his interview with IGN's concerned, he said that he hasn't been approached for the role, and that at the moment it's still a rumor. And he's saying that the best I heard, all I heard was from the newspapers, that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure he's been contacted. I haven't. This isn't anything from my sources. This is just me speculating. I think he's been contacted. I actually think he's already been cast, because if that rumor, again, it was something that was reported by Deadline, which is I trust them. They're a very reputable outlet. They wouldn't have gone with it unless there was at least some truth to it. Again, as I said before, this sort of stuff happens all the time with actors. Actors are always saying that, they're not. I mean, the famous example is Jason Momoa saying, "No, I've heard nothing about Aquaman." He'd already been cast. He'd been cast years ago, and he was saying, "No." And it's, they have to kind of say that until the thing's official, because I suppose they're legally probably not allowed to say anything. And I think that's the case here. I am very, very, very excited to see Mads Mikkelsen play Grindelwald. Again, it might not happen. If he's telling the truth, it might not happen, but I'm pretty sure it'll happen. And I think he's perfect casting for the role. I realise a lot of people out there are very, very upset that Johnny Depp isn't playing the role anymore. I understand. I'm pretty upset as well about that, because I don't think he should have been fired from that role, which he was really. But I actually think, in retrospect, I think Mads Mikkelsen is actually a better fit for the role. But other people have other opinions on all of that, and I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Right, moving on to... We're finally moving away from Fantastic Beasts, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, Aquaman. We're moving away from all of that and on to Transformers. So this is not one of my favourite franchises, but I will say that I actually did really, really enjoy Bumblebee. I thought that was a really good film. And that was directed by Travis Knight. And that was it wasn't a reboot. It was more, it was like a side kind of film in a weird way, because it was set in the 80s. I think it starred Haley Steinfeld, and she's brilliant in that film. But according to the Hollywood Reporter, the Transformers reboot, so it's getting a reboot, it's got a new director in Creed 2's Stephen Caple Jr. So Creed 2 is actually a really good film. It's not quite as good as Creed 1. The first Creed movie was directed by Ryan Coogler. The Creed 2 I think is actually a really solid film. But he's reportedly directing the movie from a script by Joe B. Harold, who's currently working on Zack Snyder's upcoming project Army of the Dead. Interestingly enough, what Paramount Pictures did, and Hasbro as well, is they actually employed two people to write two different Transformers scripts. So they employed Harold, and they employed James Vanderbilt. And James Vanderbilt is very famous for having written Zodiac, which is one of my favourite movies of all time. As far as Joe B. Harold's concerned, his filmography isn't quite as impressive. But the thing is that you can say this sort of thing about a script writer, but a script might be absolutely incredible, and then the movie ends up being terrible. It's not always the case that that a script writer doesn't always represent the films that he's written or she's written. The scripts might have been better than the final film. So, for instance, he wrote Awake, which was a film. I think he also directed that movie, actually. So that was starring Hayden Christensen, I believe, which wasn't brilliant. He then wrote and produced King Arthur, The Legend of the Sword, which was, of course, that Guy Ritchie movie, which starred Charlie Hunnam and was just dreadful. And then he helped write Army of the Dead with Zack Snyder. But he's also worked on a whole load of things. He was an executive producer on Edge of Tomorrow. He was an executive producer on Robin Hood, which was also not very good. And he was an executive producer on John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, which is a fantastic action film. So, there's a lot of kind of slightly turgid stuff in that list. I will admit that. But you haven't read the script. It's probably an incredible script. Then again, we also haven't read James Vanderbilt's script, which I bet you is incredible. But they've gone with Harold's script. They've gone with Stephen Capel Jr. to direct. These, hopefully, I mean, I'm a bit surprised that these films are still happening. But then again, they do make a lot of money. The Michael Bay movies made incredible amounts of money, like ridiculous sums of money. I did put it in the article how much money they made with Michael Gay. Over 4.84 billion those movies made. So they're a massive kind of income, like stream of income for Paramount Pictures. And of course, Paramount really don't. I mean, this year they really haven't done very well. But then again, no movie studio has, and it is one of their big franchises. So it's like their tentpole franchise, really. And I mean, I'm excited to see this, to be honest, because I really want to see a Transformers movie done well. I think Bumblebee was almost that. I really liked what Travis Knight was doing with that film. I liked the kind of 80s vibes. I liked the fact that it was a smaller movie. I like the fact that it wasn't just robot porn, which honestly those Michael Bay films are, just explosions after explosions. But I think I'm let's just say I am mildly optimistic for this next Transformers movie. We'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Right, moving on to the penultimate story of the evening, and that's that Disney is rumored to want to bring Sigourney Weaver back to the Alien franchise. So, of course, this again comes from insider Daniel Richman. I think that's how you say his name. But this comes after it was rumored that Disney is working on another Alien prequel with Ridley Scott that's not connected to Ridley Scott's previous prequels. If that makes any sense to you, let me know, because it really doesn't make any sense to me. How do you have an Alien prequel that's not connected to Ridley Scott's prequels? I don't know. I really don't know. But apparently it's all in the Alien franchise. It's like the Alien saga. And they're going to be making another movie with Ridley Scott. He has a lot of ideas, so maybe it'll work, maybe not. I don't know. But according to Daniel, they want to actually get Sigourney Weaver back into the Alien franchise, which I actually think isn't a bad idea. I love Sigourney Weaver. Alien, the 1979 movie, is one of my favorite movies of all time, of course, directed by Ridley Scott. Sigourney Weaver plays Ellen Ripley in that film, and she is fantastic. She's been brilliant in every other Alien film ever made since, even if the movies have been terrible. She was in Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection are terrible. I'm not a big fan of Aliens, but I know there are lots of people out there that love that movie, and I can understand why. It's James Cameron taking on the Alien franchise and making it an action franchise, which is fine. I liked the original Alien because I'm a big fan of, I love sci-fi horror, and that's like the kind of granddaddy of sci-fi horror, and it is brilliant and still holds up to this day, and I think will do for forever, for eternity. But I do like the idea of her coming back, mainly because I don't know if you remember, but there was this kind of idea, there was this project going on with Neil Blomkamp. I think that's how you say his name, the director of District 9 and bunch of there are so many other. District 9 is the one that. So wait, Neil Blomkamp, I think. Yeah, it is Blomkamp. Neil with two L's. So he directed District 9, Elysium, Chappie. They're the three movies he directed, and he also wrote them as well. And I actually really, really loved District 9, and I really, really loved his idea, his actually not so much his idea, but his drawings that he came up with for Alien, another Alien, which would have been Alien 5, starring Sigourney Weaver. And it just made me want to see that movie so much, because I think Neil Blomkamp he's got talent. He's got a lot of talent there. I think Chappie was pretty bad and Elysium was fine. District 9 shows that he definitely has a lot of talent, and he has visual flair. He's able to come up with some really unique and interesting ideas. I think he does need to be reined in slightly. And I think him working at a place like Disney, which of course this would be now after they acquired Fox, the Alien franchise is now with Disney, they'd be able to give him the tools, but also the executives there, I think the producers would be able to rein him in slightly and kind of really make sure that this film works and is as good as it possibly can be. I know people say Disney tends to water things down, but I think it's actually the opposite. I think they really do work hard on making sure that their films are as good as they possibly can be. I know people dislike like the recent Star Wars movies, but I actually think they're as good as they possibly could have been, really, because the Star Wars franchise, again, I'm going on a tangent here, but they were in a very, very bad way after the prequels. Really, really were. If you love those prequels if you love the prequel movies, then fine. But you cannot deny that the Star Wars movies were in a pretty poor position before Disney took over, because people were burnt by the prequels, and they kind of got it back. And now we're seeing with The Mandalorian, people are very, very excited about this show, and they're loving it. So again, we're going to have to wait and see what happens with the Alien franchise, but I hope they do it. Final bit of news today, and that's that there's a new James Bond game coming. It's called Project 007, and it's coming from IO Interactive, which is the developers that made all the Hitman games and the Cain and Abel games. Not Cain and Abel, Cain and Lynch games, sorry. And I am very, very excited for a new James Bond game. I loved the GoldenEye 007 game. I've actually played almost every single James Bond game after that, but none of them have been quite as good as that GoldenEye game. And I'm just really, really looking forward to seeing what they do with the property. It's a brilliant property. I'm excited to see who they have as Bond. Will it be Craig? Will it be someone else? Will they go back in the past? Will it be Sean Connery? Who knows? But there is a really fun teaser trailer online, which is all like a barrel takes place in a gun barrel, and it has the kind of 007 kind of gun barrel iconic shot. And I'm really excited to see that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And with that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely weekend. If you don't like watching these and would rather listen to them as a podcast, I do release these as a podcast. You can find that at Small Screen Stories, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give us 5 stars. That'd be brilliant. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Do whatever you do on YouTube. Do all of that. If you're watching on Facebook, like the page, follow the page, like the video, share the video. If you're watching on Twitch, do whatever you do on Twitch. You can follow Small Screen everywhere at Small Screen GB. That's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can follow me at EJ Lauder on Facebook. And thank you very, very much for watching, guys. Also, you can go on the website. That's small-screen.co.uk. But yeah, thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, guys. Goodbye.